what if female Deku was Snowdrop? So, in this what if, female Deku is a relative of Endeavor's wife. I can't remember her name, but she is a relative and a cousin to her kids, being Shoto, Dabi, the others, but a far away relative. And she was born with a really powerful Ice Pegasus quirk. She has wings and can turn into a Pegasus. And has the most powerful ice quirk, creating storms of ice. That's how powerful her quirk is. But this quirk has a drawback. She does not have the ability to see. She's basically blind. Her mother keeps her on a mountain, cold, because that's how powerful her quirk is. It can change the weather. So she spends most of her days living on a mountain with her mother, as her mother doesn't like what the Hero Safety Committee does, or anything else of that matter. All she thinks about is about her daughter and having a good life, while Izumi just admires. Although she can't see anything, she can hear, feel, and all her other senses. So she likes to wander around the forest. And a lot of the animals like to go up to Izumi and play with her. Although ever since she was deemed with such a powerful quirk, there were people that would try to get Izumi because of her powerful quirk. That's why the reason she was moved into the mountains. Because her mother wanted to stay away from the people that would try to take her away. And to use her, such a powerful quirk like hers, as it had never been seen before. As Izumi would always wander the mountain, but not able to leave it by her mother's orders. So she would always walk around. A few years ended up passing by. And in this timeline, she will be about the same age as Dabi. Why is because I think Dabi's 18, I believe. Don't know. Don't fact check me on that. I could be entirely wrong. He could be 20. Whatever. But he does find, when she's still a kid, she does find Dabi before he's all burned. It puts out the fire on his body. Because she does end up finding him. She helps him recover, as she takes him back to her place to help recover, as her mother is skeptical of this idea. Come on, Mom. How hard is it to keep this person? He's about my age, and he's hurt. Fine. He can stay for a couple of days. Thank you, Mom. As Izumi would keep an eye over Dabi. As she keeps an eye over Dabi, when he wakes up, he's surprised to see Izumi. And at first he's scared, but he knows that Izumi is blind, as she has not realized Dabi has woken up yet. But she gets up and walks as she hears something. You must be awake. As Dabi's surprised. It seems like you're better now. I better go get my mother. As she goes to get her mother. Mother, the kid is awake. As she walks over to and goes to Dabi. And sits down and talks with Dabi. So what is your name? Toya. Toya. What an interesting name. Do you have a last name, perhaps? No, I don't want to talk about it. That is fine. Anyway, unfortunately, you cannot stay here with us. I will have to take you off the mountain in a little bit. His Dabi is confused. As Izumi walks back outside. As she spends most of her days outside, and the cold cannot really mess with her because of her quirk. As she would always wander the mountain. As Dabi was curious about Izumi, as Izumi's mom would said she would take him back to the city in a few days. As in the time, Dabi would become friends with Izumi as they would play around. As they would play around and became friends. As she would always use her quirk and make nice things. And within the vicinity of her, Dabi's quirk would not harm him because of the very cold temps. So in a way, Izumi's quirk counteracted the negative effects of his quirk, which would burn him. But eventually, it did come time to where he had to leave. This made Izumi a little sad, as it would mean she'd be alone again, without any friends. But she was happy that she met Dabi, a friend, even if it was for a little bit. As she would then continue to wander the mountain, as she would create little ice sculptures or ice stones across the mountain. Some of Pegasus, some of ponies, and some of unicorns, whatever, and other creatures. As several years gone by, the Hero Safety Committee was still trying to get Izumi at her age, as her mother was still saying no and wouldn't let her. But as she had turned to an adult, they had finally decided to send people after Izumi. But every time they did try to send someone up there, they could not find her. It's like she was hidden. And most of the time, the teams never made it back because of the such cold weather. Half the time, most of the time, the vehicles wouldn't even climb the mountain because of all the storms of snow, causing so many problems for heroes or agents of the Hero Safety Commission trying to get Izumi. Well, Izumi would always wander the mountain every day, always looking at the stars when it was night, keeping an eye on the snow. Although she could not see, she could still feel. And every winter, she would send a snowflake into the sky, which would calm the storms around the cities around her. But eventually, the Hero Safety Committee used an excuse to try to send the top heroes after Izumi, because they wanted to utilize her quirk, her power, as her quirk was so vast and powerful that it made other ice quirks seem weak compared to hers. So they decided to send the top heroes and a hero that could nullify her quirk, being Eraserhead, of course, saying that an artifact was stolen and it was owned to increase someone's quirk. Basically seemed like a frame, pretty much. And they said the person had an ice quirk and they've been using it to amplify their power, causing storms that would harm the surrounding cities. In reality, she would always calm the snowstorms around the cities, helping them. But they don't know that. So they would send their heroes, All Might, Endeavor, Hawks, a bunch of random heroes, to try to find her. As at this point, she's learned to transform into a Pegasus, her Pegasus form, which she would use to roam the mountain, fly about. While she's flying, she hears something. Wings, vehicles, and other things coming. Are those the people Mother talked about? She said they would come for me eventually. She decides to do something. So she makes a huge ice maze with her powers to block their advances towards her, and thicken the fog of the storm of snow, make it hard for Hawks or any flying heroes to advance, turning the once calm weather into a blizzard, make it hard for even the flaming hero Endeavor to make his way. As Izumi landed, transformed into her human form, and decides, I think it's about time I make my way back home. As she begins to walk back to her house, while the heroes have to find a way through the maze. Where are we gonna go? As they try to figure out the way through the maze, Endeavor comes up. No need to figure a way out, I'll just make one. As he uses very high flames and tries to melt the ice, but to no avail. It is too cold to where it nullifies the effects of Endeavor's flames, which are said to be very hot. And I think the only attack he could use would be to break through the ice. Would be his primal burn. Burn. I'm not sure, but it would tire him out, and you'd be freezing after that. But anyway, as they try to make their way through the maze, the first one that actually makes it through is Aizawa, as he then lures the rest of the heroes through the maze eventually, while Izumi is sitting in her house, as her mother had long since left, as she had passed away about a year or two ago. As she's sitting in a chair, looking at the ceiling. Eventually, the heroes would find her cabin. What is this place? As one of the heroes says, I don't care, as long as it has some air conditioning, I'm hanging in there. As a few heroes knock, as Izumi hides her wings, grabs a stick and uses it to move around. As she goes to the door and opens it. Hello, how I may help you? As the heroes are shocked to see a blind girl open the door. Excuse me, ma'am, do you mind if we spend the night here? It is really cold and it will take forever to get down the mountain. How many are there? There's about 15 of us, ma'am. Come right on in. As she lets the heroes in. As they're relieved to be in a warm building. As the snowstorm goes down a bit. As she goes back to her chair to sit. As Aizawa and the rest of the heroes are here. So who exactly are we looking for? Just someone with a powerful ice quirk. We haven't found anyone here, really, well, except her. As they refer to the girl being Izumi. She's just sitting in her chair. She can still hear everything they're saying because when people lose their eyesight, most of the time their other senses are heightened. As Aizawa goes up to Izumi. Excuse me, ma'am, do you know anyone on the mountain that has an ice quirk? Are you asking for how many people live on the mountain? Yes. Besides me, there are 2 on the other side of the mountain. I don't know exactly what their quirks are, though. But if you're looking for someone, you'll probably find them on that side of the mountain. As she tells them. But why are you so far out this way, if I may ask? Oh, I've always lived here. As Hawks goes over, and the cold doesn't bother you. No, it doesn't. It's calm. Even though I can't see, I can sense. When I look up, I can even sense the stars. Even though I can't see them, I can feel they're there. Well, thank you for letting us to stay the night. No problems. As I have to leave tomorrow anyway. I have some matters to take care of. As it becomes night, as Izumi steps out while everyone's asleep and goes to a hidden area. As she walks down into this cave and goes to something. It seems like you're still encased in ice. That's good. As we don't see what she meant, or what she's touching to feel. As she goes back and walks in to the room, back into the house, as Aizawa happens to be awake. And where did you go? Oh, I just went out for a little stroll. In this weather? It's a blizzard out there. You would be surprised. It's not my first time going through a blizzard. Especially when I live here. As Aizawa is a bit skeptical. But you probably should get to bed. It's about time. I go as well. As she heads to her room. As Aizawa is a bit skeptical of her. As she goes to sleep. Ending part 1 of what female Deku was Snowdrop. Please tell me what y'all thought of the video. And make sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more.